clear to that and procure.
The outside national police agencies will be involved in this investigation.
Right now, the Rochester Police Department is the primary investigating agency. And I mentioned already before that our town and our local and state partners did provide us assistance.
Can you talk about just how challenging is seeing the process that you're had so much chaos kind of happening here, and probably victims kind of scattered all across different parts of the street, different parts of the yard here, and others probably showing up in private vehicles to hospitals. How challenging is it to kind of have such a scattered out scene and trying to process it and work that?
It's an extremely difficult scene to process. We have evidence scattered in multiple locations, victims who arrive at different hospitals, and just trying to identify and interview witnesses. But the police department have all hands on deck. Our major crimes unit have all investigators here, and they're working hard and diligently, along with our patrol units, to hopefully bring this case to a resolution.
Do you suspect what type of gun might be involved in this? I mean, to cause that amount of casualties?
I don't want to speculate prematurely on an investigation.
So we don't know if there are illegal guns involved?
It's too early to say.
I'm still trying to understand.
So we are currently interviewing witnesses and victims, so that way we can get a handle on a potential suspect or suspects.
Now, a hearing heard on the police scanner that there was one gun that was dropped during this shooting. Can you speak on that?
We are collecting evidence that we find in this scene and other scenes spread out. It's a very large crime scene with multiple locations.
So can you confirm that there was a gun found, or?
I will not be confirming that at this moment.
Just from your personal perspective, Chief, just taking over as Chief this week, how tumultuous of a week has this been for you?
You know what, truthfully, this is not a moment for self-reflection. This is a moment that I'm asking the community to pray for the victims and their families. A lot of people are hurting right now. A lot of people are seeking answers. And the police department are going to do what we can to help bring some comfort and solve this crime for families.
Were all the victims outside at the time, or were some inside the home, some outside of the home?
We're still working on those answers.
How important is community tips in something in a case this large, this wide scale shooting?
Community tips are extremely important. Even though someone may feel that they witnessed something that was so small and they feel insignificant, you don't know what connection that can help our investigators connect the dots and help find their suspects. So I, again, implore anyone who may have seen something, may have heard something, may have witnessed something, to please contact 911 and provide that information.
You had not received any calls about the party, noise, gathering at all?
No, our records show that we did not receive any 911 calls up until the point where the shots were fired.
You talk about response. How many officers arrived?
I don't have that number, but suffice it to say there were multiple officers that arrived.
Any officers injured?
Not that I'm aware of.
Has this particular location been a trouble spot before, this home, with parties or anything like that during this pandemic?
Not that I'm aware of, but again, we're still investigating.
How many people have you guys have been hurt?
I don't have that number readily available. Multiple witnesses that were injured.
You mentioned the healing in the community. I know that Sergeant patrols down here. You can't talk about the role they're playing down here tonight and I think area hospitals as well.
Yeah. So clergy and patrol respond to comfort victims, try to comfort the neighbors who may be experiencing trauma as a result of this traumatic incident. And he also provide comfort to our officers as well.
If we get any other updates about this scene, do you expect them to come from the scene? Do you expect them to come via email with the press conference later today?
We will provide an update probably via email through a statement. At that time, we will let you know whether it's a press conference will be scheduled.
And this is most of the time for families. Any support that the family will be getting, etc.
So the police department does have a family support group, and I think there was news announced earlier this week that that group may be moving to Drives, but we do work with the family, both the city and our county partners, to make sure the family has the support they need.
Any information on the remaining victims of the hospital, males, females, age range, anything like that?
I'm sorry, can I repeat that?
Any information on the remaining victims of age ranges, male, female, something like that?
Not that I can provide at this time.
How do you stop the gathering?
We stopped the gatherings with community support. As I mentioned before, we hadn't received any phone calls of annoyances or a loud house party or even a large crowd. When our officers got here, we saw 100 people, so you would think that someone may have seen something prior to the shooting occurring. So we asked the community, when you see something, please pick up the phone, call 911, so that way we can come and address it, please. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you for
Have a
coming.
good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You've been watching a live stream with interim police chief. With interim police chief.